So is it a huge deal? Is it season altering that Texas is ranked ahead of Oregon? No. Is it SEC bias? 1,000%. 1,000%. And look, I don't have a major objection to it. The total amount of points was close. Oregon only have 6 first place votes. Still can't shake that West Coast bug, can you? You may have taken the team out of the Pac-12, but you can't take the Pac-12 out of the team. I mean, that was a Pac-12 After Dark special, wasn't it, after all? And so I look at what Texas has put together this year. They have dominated a lot of teams that they're significantly better than. And Oregon is not. And that's what this comes down to ultimately, is the Idaho game. Because Boise State is currently ranked 15th in the country. So by the AP voters' own metrics, Texas does not have the same strength of record as Oregon. Because Oregon's got not one but 2 top 15 wins, and Ohio State is still in the top 5, so they have a top 5 win and a top 15 win. Currently, Texas does not have a win against a team that is ranked. Oklahoma was ranked 18th last week, and I told you on Locked On College Football, for those of you that listen over there, I appreciate you that double dip and can endure an hour of me every day. Gosh, that must be a lot, but hey, I listen to it, so somebody being able to, props. Major props, because, obviously you're not me. But on Locked On College Football, Oklahoma was never the 18th best team in the country. Completely and utterly fraudulent with that particular ranking. They were never in the same level as Texas. Texas is a great team. But at the end of the day, is this going to alter Oregon's season? Not in a dramatic sense. Like at the end of the year, if Oregon goes undefeated, wins the Big Ten, and Texas goes undefeated, wins the SEC, yeah, Texas should probably, because they have a slightly tougher schedule than Oregon, they should probably end up as the number 1 team in the country. But it's going to get decided this week either way. That's the other thing here. Texas plays Georgia this week. So if Texas plays Georgia, and which they do, if they beat Georgia, then it's really, really hard for Oregon to say, hey, we should be ranked number 1. But if Texas loses to Georgia, guess what? Ducks are going to the number 1 team in the country, and it's been a minute since that's happened. I don't know if I love the target it puts on Oregon's back, but you know what? It's a heck of an accomplishment no matter when it happens during the season, because a lot of things have to transpire. So that's my thought on that. A number of you asked about that. I'll get back to the AP poll in a moment. I got a bunch of questions. We're going to go rapid fire here. YouTube comments, X, formerly known as Twitter, at @McLaughlin CFB, or at Locked On Ducks. If you want priority access and all sorts of other perks, go become a Locked On Ducks insider. Link in the description below, wherever you listen to or watch the show. I've had a surge in people subscribing over there, and let's just say there are a lot of things that take place over there that you can't get if you engage with the show regularly. You can get a free 14-day trial. That link is below. A handful of insider questions came in, and they get to go first, per my arrangement. What does the win over Ohio State teach you about the Ducks that you didn't already know or were unsure of heading into this game? This is a phenomenal question. I might spend more time on this question later this week. It told me the offensive line is indeed completely fixed. Do not make any adjustments. If Matthew Bedford is a 6th year, is a reserve offensive lineman this year, then the O-line is doing great. You have got 2, maybe 3 NFL caliber players on that defensive line, and Dylan Gabriel is sacked 0 times, and Jordan James is over 100 yards rushing. I didn't expect Oregon to be able to go for 200 plus on the ground. They won the rushing battle, by the way. It was my number 1 key going into the game. In the last 4 matchups, Oregon, Ohio State, the team that runs for more yards, 4-0. Might come into play again. I'm just saying. But it's that the offensive line is fixed. That was a magnificent performance. Gabriel had time to throw. And yeah, Ohio State sat in coverage sometimes. The blitz pickups were there. Shout out Jordan James. He had a phenomenal blitz pickup in that particular game. But I was questioning, hey, is this offensive line really fixed, or were they just playing inferior competition? No, offensive line is fixed. That's the number 1 thing that I thought to myself after the game, like, okay, yeah, they're really good again. And that's a great thing, because they struggled early in the year, but they have figured that out. Another insider asked the question, is our goal as simple as don't lose momentum going to Purdue? I don't know about don't lose momentum. No, the goal going to Purdue is avoid the emotional letdown. You're going to hear me use that term a lot this week for you everydayers out there. Get used to hearing it. Emotional letdown factor. It's a real thing in college football. Ask Alabama. Ask Alabama. Bud asks the question, how is Autzen so loud? Fans care a lot. I don't know if there's an architectural component, but my favorite Twitter thread, the best Twitter thread, just to throw in the face of a select few, might I add, Buckeye fans online that didn't think Autzen would be all that loud. Just Ohio State fans going like this, just plugging their ears like, it's very loud. There's a thread out there of all of it. It's fantastic. Utterly fantastic. But it comes down to everybody in that stadium cares a whole heck of a lot. And everybody I know that went to the game didn't have much of a voice at the end of it. That's how you get 60,000 to sound like 100,000. Monica asks, question for the show. Spencer, someone who continues to learn about the game, who/where does the voting for the AP poll and the rankings happen? How are voters selected? Same for the Heisman. I hear people say, I have a vote. How does that get decided? Thanks and go Ducks. Long time established media entities and the reporters that they put in certain positions are going to get AP votes. And it's about being credentialed in the right way and for the right journalistic organization. So Brett McMurphy, for instance, has a top 25 vote. I do not. We both cover college football, but there's nobody that I'm aware of that, because of their affiliation with Locked On per se, because it's a newer company, that that have an AP top 25 vote or a Heisman vote. John Canzano has a Heisman vote. I don't know if he is an AP top 25 voter, but it comes down to the relationships that get established, the connections that are made, and institutional credibility for a given organization or an individual like John, who has literally been writing columns in the Oregonian about Oregon sports since I was a kid, and I think before that as well. I think that's the best kind of broad picture answer that I can give. I haven't seen the process up close, but I know that that's what it comes down to. It's like, hey, if you are working for The Athletic, you're going to have a top 25 vote. You can have a Heisman vote, but you have to have covered the sport for a long time. You can't just start covering it. Like, I've covered the Ducks on this show for, how long has it been now? We're coming up on 3 years. Coming up on 3 years. That's not going to be enough time to get an AP top 25 or a Heisman vote. So that's what goes into it, going back to the Texas conversation. I have 2 more questions on here. I'm only going to get to one. So, Bobby, I will get to your question tomorrow so that I can give you a full answer, because I don't want to rush through it. And like I said, a lot to get to on today's show. This question comes from Nick. So here's my question. Does Oregon need to make sure it's with the Alabama versus Vanderbilt score going into Purdue week? I mean, I'm not opposed. If Alabama can lose to Vanderbilt, Oregon can lose to Purdue. Straight up, period, point blank, end of discussion. You overlook somebody, you win a big game like that, top 5 matchup, epic game on your home field. The emotional letdown factor happens every single year, almost every week in college football. And I thought Bama would go to Vandy and fail to cover 22.5. I didn't think they'd lose the game outright a couple weeks ago. It turns out Bama's got some other problems, but make no mistake about it. If Bama had lost to Georgia, they probably beat Vanderbilt. It is a very real thing. You're dealing with college kids here. So whatever tick Dan Lanning has to, or whatever button Lanning has to push to get the kids, the student athletes, players, whatever you want to refer to them as. It feels weird for me calling them kids because I feel like a kid sometimes, but I'm older than everybody on the team, obviously, except for maybe Dylan Gabriel. Just kidding. I'm not, but I'm not that much younger, or I'm not that much older compared to some of the other players. But you push whatever button you need to. If that's what it comes down to, sure. But would I say to Coach Lanning, not that he needs my advice, that yeah, it's a good idea to figure out a way to get the team to not overlook Purdue? Yep, you got to find something. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's making a T-shirt with the Vandy Bama score. I'd be here for it. But whatever it is, you definitely have to make that happen.